If you're a serious strategy card game player, you know this choice is a big one. It's not just about which game is more fun, right? It's about where you're going to invest your most valuable resource, your time. So today, we're going to settle this debate.
I mean, we've all been there, haven't we? You're looking for that deep strategic challenge, a game that actually respects your skill and doesn't feel like it's constantly trying to get you to crack open your wallet just to keep up. So for this whole breakdown, let's zero in on a very specific kind of player. We're talking about someone who's chasing mastery, who isn't interested in all the flashy distractions, and who really wants a game they can pour themselves into for the long haul. This is the player we're solving for. Let's give him a name. Let's call him Rash. Now, Rash isn't just looking for something to kill time. Oh no, he has a very specific and, let's be honest, a very demanding list of what makes a game worth his time.
Okay, so here's his checklist. First up, the big one. Skill has to matter more than luck. He wants his wins to come from smart plays, not just a lucky draw. Second, it's got to be genuinely free to play, no sneaky pressures. Third, it needs to respect his time, not become some addictive black hole. And this last one is absolutely crucial. It has to have a stable future, so all the effort he puts into getting good doesn't just disappear. You know, when it first launched, one game just seemed tailor-made for a player like Rush. It was the new challenger on the block, the game that basically promised to fix everything that was broken in the genre. And that game was Legends of Runeterra. And what's so cool here is how Legends of Runeterra, or LoR, was built from the ground up to reward that deep thinking. I mean, instead of one player taking a huge turn while the other one just sits and watches, LoR was all about this interactive back-and-forth action. They dialed the randomness way down and even added this clever spell mana system that rewarded you for planning ahead. It was, no joke, a strategist's dream. And boy, did players feel the difference right away. This quote here from the Hearthstone forums back in 2020 just captures the vibe perfectly. There was this real passion because for the first time, players felt like a game actually saw them and respected them, especially when it came to how it handled money. And this is exactly why. LoR got rid of the random card packs, the loot boxes. Instead, you got this super generous weekly vault and a wild card system. So if you wanted a specific card, you could just craft it. No gambling. For the first time ever, a completely free-to-play player could actually realistically aim to own every single card in the game. It was a game changer. But while LoR was winning over all these hearts and minds with its fresh design, the old king, Hearthstone, wasn't going anywhere. I mean, it had been sitting on the throne, dominating the genre for over a decade. And this was the fundamental trade-off. Hearthstone had a gigantic, active player base and a competitive scene that was always getting updates. But for a strategist like Rosh, the downsides were huge. It was constantly criticized for being pay to win. Getting a full set of cards was incredibly expensive, and the high amount of randomness could make a game feel like a coin flip, which just completely undermines skill. So for years, it really seemed like the idealist choice was easy. But then, early 2024 happened, and the whole narrative just flipped. That dream of a player-first competitive game ran smack into the cold hard wall of business reality.
And this really is the key question here. How could a game that was so well loved by its players, with a model that was so fair and so generous, fail to make its competitive player versus player vision last?
Well, the answer came straight from Riot Games themselves. In a surprisingly honest FAQ, they just laid it all out there. The competitive PvP part of the game just wasn't making enough money. The very things players adored, the generosity, the lack of pressure to spend, were also its biggest financial weaknesses. And if you need to see it in numbers, this slide shows the brutal math. In the first 9 months of 2025, LoR brought in an estimated $3 million. In that same time, Hearthstone made $45 million. That's 15 times more revenue. The gap was it was too big to ignore. So here's the bottom line. That incredibly player-friendly model that we all loved just couldn't pay the bills for a world-class, constantly updated PvP game. So facing that reality, Riot made a really tough call. They shifted the game's main focus over to its popular single-player mode, the Path of Champions. This changes everything. The choice for a player like Rash in 2025 is not what it was a few years ago. We have to look at both games again, based on the reality of today, not the promise of yesterday. So if you're that person who wants to master a competitive game, this is what Runeterra's PvP scene looks like now. Riot's official term is hibernation. That means no more world championships, The future of new cards, specifically for PvP, is totally up in the air. All the game's energy and resources are now pointed at its player versus environment mode. This quote from a player just hits the nail on the head. A strategist thrives on the challenge of a real, unpredictable human opponent. PvE can be fun, for sure, but it has a ceiling. You learn the computer's patterns, you beat it, and then what? That endless strategic challenge is just gone.
Which brings us right back to where we started. For Rash, our focused, long-term strategist, what is the right call now? It's a tough choice between the game that's designed perfectly and the game that's, well, built to last. This scorecard really lays it all out. If your number one priority is competitive PvP, a living, supported scene with a real future, Hearthstone is the clear winner. If you just love that single-player roguelike experience, Runeterra is now built for you. But when you look at longevity, at the financial stability needed for a competitive scene to thrive, Hearthstone's got the track record, while LoR's PvP future is a giant question mark.
Remember Rash's checklist? That word, sustainability, was on there for a reason. He needs a game he can dedicate himself to for years, knowing that his investment of time and brain power won't just vanish because a mode is no longer supported.
And that really brings us to the single most important word in this entire decision: sustainability. It's not about which game is better in a vacuum, it's about which game has a business model that can actually fund the experience you're looking for year after year after year. So here it is, the final verdict. Legends of Runeterra was, and in many ways still is, the idealist's dream. It's a brilliantly designed, super respectful card game. But for a strategist who's looking for a stable, competitive home for the long run, Hearthstone, with all of its flaws, is the pragmatist's reality. The recommendation is Hearthstone. And that leaves us with one final thing to think about. It's really the ultimate trade-off in the world of online games. Is it a better investment of your time to learn a system that's imperfect, but you know is stable, or to master a system that's perfectly designed but might be fading away? That right there is the strategist's choice.